Yeah, I think part of that, so about being here and educating, right, and putting those things in people's minds or heads about thinking about training differently, which is really what a lot of what I picked up about the summit since I've been here is thinking about the problem differently. Don't isolate it to one thing. Right. I mean, there's some bit of that in problem solving. Sometimes you have to go to the priority list and whatnot, but coming back to the mission and the loss of sense of mission or purpose, and going through what your purpose is and what your mission should be. And then part of it is like, well, what does that mean then? Mm-hmm. And that is, how do I train for that? What gives me that? Interesting how martial arts, combatives, let's put it that way, solves for that in so many ways in terms of that mission never ends, right? And you recognize that real fast when you start to get into it and you recognize you're never going to know it all. You're going to try to perfect this, and guess what? You're never going to be perfect. And that is now the mission, to understand that isn't the case. There's this lifelong journey, and the lessons that you learn through that, like the grit that comes along with it, the losing, the winning. What does winning, as John Valentine would say, what does winning actually look like? How much value am I putting in this other thing? I actually heard Matt give a speech about, I think it was at West Point. I may have caught it on YouTube or somewhere, and I don't want to retell the story, but I think it was just a little bit about the overvalue that people have placed into fitness versus the fighting, right? Yeah. Or these constituent parts of the mission, which is to protect and defend. Yeah, and so I don't know if you want to go.
Well, so this is actually ties back into exactly what you were saying. What I would say is that most people train because they enjoy training, right?
Yeah.
And so
I just want to work out.
That also means that mostly they train in doing just the things they like. And so we see the way, we got people training with katanas all over the country right now. And it's not because they're going to get accosted by ninjas on the way to their car at the mall, right? So they're just doing it because they like doing it, right? So most people who are training martial arts of any kind are doing the same thing.
That's right.
They really like shooting, so they're shooting. But
they like jujitsu. That's why they only do
jujitsu. That's okay.
Right,
that's right.
Yeah, and I think that what I was saying earlier about what you said, it meshes perfectly with what I was saying earlier about you have the generic fighting abilities component, where mostly what we do is we use hierarchical fighting, like sport of fighting, but the kind of things we do within our culture. Imagine like, for example, when I say hierarchical fighting, what are you actually fighting for when you're fighting in the UFC? Well, you're fighting for social status. Money is just a proxy for that, but it's really about, I'm the tougher guy. I have higher social status than you. You know what I mean? So that's all what we do within our culture, and those things, if we're doing it correctly, or if we're wise about it, those things are actually a training ground to get our skills higher as we take advantage of that cultural aspect of it in order to drive ourselves to excellence. Okay, so, but then, part of why the Combatives, organization is what it is with all these various sets of skills and whatnot is because that leaves you the guy training with the katana, right? Like at the end of the day, we really care who the best kendo fighter is in America, it's cool. It's like being the winner of the spelling bee to me. Like, it's quite interesting that you can spell really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was a spelling bee champion.
I believe you. You're a guy.
Not national, but I won many bees.
But see, that's about the pursuit of excellence. Right? When you put competition on something, anything at all. Look, when do you suppose was the first time that some human being sat down and ate 50 hot dogs at one go? Right? I'm going to bet it was after somebody said, let's have a hot dog eating contest.
Right after.
So competition drives for the pursuit of excellence. Right? So that's what we get is we get specialized excellence, right? In competitive martial arts systems. And, so you can go to an IPSC or IDPA or USPCA match or whatnot, and just the skill set is amazing. Like Pranka was saying the other day, it's amazing. You see those people that are good at that, right? Fighting skill sets are the same way. It's got to be such a good boxer. It's amazing. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's a really useful skill in MMA, but it ain't enough. And that's the same relationship that all of our sport fighting stuff has with real fighting. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we would like to be the best shooter we can be. One of the best ways to get there is to be a competitive shooter. We'd like to be the best striker we can be. One of the best ways to get there is to be a competitive boxer and kickboxer, right? We'd like to be the best grappler we can be. One of the best ways to get there is to be a competitive jiu-jitsu guy. Okay, so then all those things are wonderful components of the whole. Now, how do we make sure that that's in context of what the actual mission is? Because the mission is not hierarchical fighting. That's just the tool to get us there.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have amazing skills,
skill
right?
building.
You gained those skills because you were in that competitive environment. And now you're putting them on the actual mission. All that time, you were just getting better so that you could do that. So you can teach an amazing class today for people about how to fight against the wall, you know, like, because fighting against the wall happens.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like real fighting involves
people
that,
that
right?
only move across walls.
Let me tell you,
Right?
You're always fighting against something.
That's right.
It's very rare that you're just standing in the middle of an empty parking lot. Every once in a while, but then you're on the ground. So pretty soon you're fighting against the ground. You're fighting against something.
Yeah, sometimes people think that like fighting looks like you're in the middle of a mat or a football field or a parking lot.
Nope.
And although that might happen, that's not the way it really
Super
works.
rare.
It's like
In my experience.
go look at any room, any restaurant, any room in your house. It's like, man, there's going to be objects and barriers and walls or fences or, you know,
All fixed weapons and weapons of opportunity.
or a vehicle.
That's what it is.
Vehicles. It's like there's stuff around you all the time.
We tell our students that, you know, the forcing factor, well, interesting thing. Okay, so the forcing factor for hand-to-hand combat in war is close spaces. Right? So imagine with the more hand-to-hand combat in World War I or World War II. Well, World War I, because they were in trenches, and you come around the corner of the trench, you're in a small space with people, right? And so in open warfare, what happens is as you attack the hill and you're laying, you know, combined arms on it, you got machine guns and mortars and all that stuff happening, the bad guys flee because they're afraid of dying. And, you know, being afraid of dying will motivate you, you know?
super motivating.
So, but when you're in a building, you know, it seems like you're in a cocoon, and next thing you know, you're in the room with the people, or they come through the door with you. And so that suddenly you're there. Now, the effect that has on the effect that has on your training and fighting is, look, for example, in hierarchical fighting, the range of decision is the takedown, right? Who can afford, you know, imagine Chuck Liddell, right? Everybody forgets that he was a Division I All-American wrestler, right?
That's right.
Because he used that defensively so he could put the fight where he wanted it to be, because he was fighting guys who knew more about submission than him, so he was not going to fight where they knew how to do it, and he knew they couldn't take him down, right? So the range of decision in hierarchical fighting is typically takedown range, clinch and takedown, right? But on a battlefield, for example, takedowns are not a thing at all.
Nope.
Because you go into the room and it's an 8x8 room, and it's not going to be a marksmanship contest in there, for one. And second off, the takedown is going to amount to you pushing the guy over the furniture or up against the wall. You know, like
into the corner.
That's what really happens, right? You smash into him like, shit, I'm going to fight. And then bam, you push him up against the wall, and now we're fighting. This is why the wall stuff is like such an excellent thing that, you know, most people, even in, you know, maybe more in MMA than any other of the games around, but jiu-jitsu, nobody's training on that. Nope. You know, like it's such a key component of the whole because it happens for real there. Almost every real fight involves that.
And then when you take some terrain aspects, and which are it's a similar thing, but terrain aspects. So now I'm on a wall, but I'm on a set of stairs.
Yeah.
So now, okay, little twist. Now I'm on a railing, or I'm up against a car. Like, cars are painted metal, very slick. A brick wall, you can't run someone down.
Coarse.
A brick wall. It's coarse. It grabs them.
Right.
But a car, it's slippery. You can slick someone down and put them underneath the bumper, right? And start hammering them knee on belly. But now they're shelved underneath slightly. They can't get out. You can knee on belly forever there, right? And
it's like the old days when the cages were flexible and you could
so it's like,
form around his
you,
back.
You start to get all these like little nuances to the terrain that make it like, you know, the more knowledge you have of these, the more you can exploit it.
And that's what we come back to is like we talk about the environmental considerations, you know, and some of these contextual relevancies, but what matters there is like we were talking about skills and knowledge. Basically, all these things determine what you're not going to use, right? Yeah. So it's like you have like a big library of skills and knowledge that you said that like we have acquired, and when you start putting all this stuff in the stairs or the car or the brick wall or in kit or out of kit or low vis or whatever it is, or half naked on a beach like the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but whatever that is, it's like now you know what you're also not going to use, and if you know what you're not going to use, it makes things so much simpler compared to that individual who just it's just chaos to them. You're so much more cool.
Yeah, for sure.